My name is Jose Campo. My dad was a Hall of Fame wrestling coach and the greatest coach in the history of New York. I obeyed and listened to my dad, did whatever he said. So as a little boy, I was very successful. Things changed when I got in high school, that I rebelled. I didn't want to listen to my dad anymore. I started looking for shortcuts and started making poor lifestyle choices. My dad was a big recruiter for West Point. He thought everyone should go to school there. So I followed my brother to West Point. But when I got there, I still continued to make poor lifestyle choices. Then in 1976, I had to call up my dad and say, "Dad, I gotta come home." And he said, "I don't understand, son, what are you talking about?" I said, "Dad, I just got kicked out of West Point for cheating." I was involved in the largest cheating scandal in the history of West Point. I ran as far away as I could. I ran from New York all the way to California. I was living in the worst part of San Diego there was. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a car, man. I couldn't even find a girlfriend. And then in 1985, one of my dad's ex-wrestlers came and told me that I have a father up in heaven that is not mad at me and that he will forgive me. And not only that, is that he had an unbelievable plan for my life. I had never heard that before. So in 1985, about 30 years ago, I joined Jesus' coaching staff. I've been involved with Fellowship of Christian Athletes for the last 20 years. I run their wrestling at their camps. We have the largest FCA camp in all of the United States. We were at the County Wrestling Championships one year, and my team didn't do that well. So I was sitting in the stands and I was depressed. So there was 2 matches left, and here was a boy wrestling on the mat. His coach didn't know anything about wrestling. His uniform was ripped. They didn't have enough people on his wrestling team to have a full squad. So when he was wrestling, no one was cheering for him, except for there was this one man. He was sitting in front of me yelling, "Come on, Robbie! Come on, Robbie!" Robbie spun behind and won the match. And the father jumped up and down and said, "How'd it go, Robbie? How'd it go, Robbie?" And then he turned around and looked at me and he said, "It's because of you Robbie won." And I looked and I said, I thought he was talking to someone else. And he said, "You taught him everything he knows at FCA camp." And then I remember Robbie. Robbie came to camp and he told us the story, how his mom was a drug addict and his dad was an alcoholic, and he would come home and beat up his mom all the time. And if it wasn't for someone in his community that gave Robbie a scholarship to come to FCA camp, that he would have never changed his life. Robbie was putting on his Wrestler for Christ shirt. It's a t-shirt that we give every boy that comes through FCA, and that we ask them, when you make it to the finals, you put on your Wrestler for Christ shirt. That's the reason why I go to camp every year. For people like Robbie, because I know they all don't have the greatest coaches, or maybe they don't have the greatest mom and dad, but when they come to camp and they learn the story about Jesus Christ, who was an undefeated wrestler, that changes their life forever. My name is Jose Campo. I'm a Christian husband, father, and coach, and I'm a wrestler for Jesus Christ.